It's September 10th, 2022. So the day's events were um, Linda, Lewis, myself, and my son Anthony were going to go to Vanderbilt. Tiafrio, 1975, wound up coming with us. Um, we walked the grounds. I'm in this. There was some wedding that was going on there. I was not invited to the wedding. I don't know who's getting married. It wasn't public or publicized. I don't know. Again, not part of whatever that is on the Vanderbilt grounds. We went for a tour of the house, which I've done before, but today was there with a different whatever. Um, I've never really heard it referred to as the Eagle's Nest, but today that came up. I never noticed the Fallout shelter sign, but it matches the one in Bayside where I'm being held, or where Linda and Lou's, my grandfather's house is, um, and where my whatever is. The boys are in ocean by the ocean. I'm by the bay. My area has a fallout shelter sign. I do not know if the ocean where they are has the same sign. Um, there were a lot of people around. There was a lot of concern on my part, even though I didn't make a big deal out of it. Like this constant, like, I wait for my son to reach out to me when we're in public if he so feels he needs to hold my hand still as we cross the street. I will. Um, but there's a lot of stuff that makes me uncomfortable, especially as now he's getting into this teenage role and based on other historic events that whatever. Not stuff I want to ever talk about, but that was there. Um, we went to the planetarium. That was nice. Um, I said in front of Lou and Linda had company last night. Just Joe and Marianne. I found out that they have a son, a set of twins that are named like mine. I thought that was interesting. I never put the two and two together. Cosmic relationship is different between them and the hands of time that I have with my sons, or my son. Um, I made mention today. So last night I made the pronouncement. I said, Lewis, I said, I'm thinking how I would characterize you and memorialize you in our genetic family tree, in how you want to be seen as the head of household, throughout my life, to any ancestors that we had. I said, and while keeping true in actual facts, I was like, I came upon the realization that when I was a young girl and you, in whatever business it was that you were in, you had a Jaguar. So technically, I could say that I was on the back of a Jaguar as my father when we were on land in the family Glen. All of those facts do pan out. I was like, furthermore, today, while I was in the planetarium, the universe reminded me about Saturn being the sixth planet, according to Vanderbilt. And I'm like, it's interesting how I went from riding on the back of a Jaguar to a Saturn, which was also red. So planetary is whatever in NASA humor, which I don't find very humorous, but it was a downgrade. um, in motor vehicle, but I made it to Saturn. I was on Saturn, or seated on Saturn, with a very special person near and dear to my heart at the time that we spent together on Hofstra campus. Um, he actually, right, so went exploring Saturn with me. These are actual facts. In like a NASA community of scientists that like the facts to be real. It really did happen. Who's to say if our feet left Earth? I don't know. Anyhow, so that being an incredibly crucial point in space and time, and factual as well. Um, I put that up on Facebook. I took a photo in front of planetary with like a small little astronaut with no face. And I put it up on my Facebook. I again don't know who was getting married. I don't know anything about it. As we were leaving, though, um, I noticed Lewis took like the long way home. We went past the Glen. Um, I tried to show my son. He was. He's not as astute. Like, I used to hang on Lewis's every word. I was so keenly aware that I was not, I don't know, it's almost like when you have a knee injury and you try to walk and you know that your patella is not in the groove and you just know that it hurts as you're walking. You're aware of it, but you're still able to walk. You just know it's not your normal gait. That's what like growing up with Lynn and Lou was. I always felt like waiting for the other shoe to drop, like something I was missing that they weren't giving me. So like every word was so key and important to pay attention. Um in this not ever feeling really safe. Kind of sort of not really. That's never really gone away. Um I we drove he drove as we drove through Hunting Centerport had these long buses, now not necessarily part of this wedding taking place at Vanderbilt, but or the Vanderbilt Estate Planetarium in Centerport, but Huntington also had long buses. No idea who's on any of these. I did see a group of what looks very Cold Spring Harbor graduate, group of 4 people. Their faces did not necessarily look familiar, except, well, familiar in the sense of family origin to a family tree that looks like I belong. Yes. Dressed like I remember my age should be dressing, should they have enough money at the time we get to that age in order to remain respectable in public? Yes. And as we drove past, the dwarf next to me made fun of the elves, and of course I sat quiet. It's just the way life is, not fair. I just know when I'm amongst my kind, and I know when I'm not. So, and we actually got a cart ride back. Linda's having trouble with her hips. There was a really nice gentleman who actually let us ride in his golf cart back to the car. I thought that was really fabulous. We spent a lot of time there, enjoying the sights and the scenery, but um, it was very nice that they offered such a thing for her. Um, so I don't know what was going on. I did notice As I drove through my hometown, there were, by the public library, there were, this flag was adorned on the front lawn of the public library. Again, I'm not integrated or involved in the Huntington Village, whichever. I don't know anybody who still lives there. I don't have any communication with any of them. I worked in the village. I know that people used to come to wherever I worked to check in on me, to test and ask questions about movies, about actors, if I knew, or if I heard, or if I saw. I mean, they even, JJ Galucio was in the yogurt store and pizzeria. He was Jesuit. First time, only time I ever heard that word come out of a human's mouth. And then the video store, I worked there. I'm like, I don't know that that's the best place for me. Like, I know, I don't even watch TV. Like, I mean, like, are they going to ask my opinion on movies, or do they come in knowing? I mean, these were the questions before I even bothered applying. Um, Not wanting to fail expectations or anything. So that happened. And then, of course, I worked for Genevieve's at the time, which is now Rite Aid. Um, that was also a brick and mortar institution that, like, I guess took over Five and Dime, or of Lynn's day and age, or like a Dollar General, but like or a CVS is another version of it. I think I heard somebody in on the TV the other day mention an Eckerd. I know what that is from going to Florida. Um, so that's what a Genevieve's was, where I worked anyway. Um, and then he took the road past his old office, which again we explained in Nooch. We went past my old university. I told the man in the park yesterday that I went to Nassau Community, which I did. I also spent 1 year at a university on campus at LIU. And that was a very benign, um, that was where I learned Italian, which was nice. It was just nice being on my own, really. Being away from Lynn and Lou, but close enough, since I didn't get to Boston, where I originally was set to go for several factors. I got held back here in New York. Um, and when I was at LAU, I had no car, no vehicle whatsoever. I couldn't get off campus. Oh, and then we drove past what they used to refer to in Long Island as the Miracle Mile. Of course, living here, I thought that was the only Miracle Mile there was ever a reference of. I just Googled it and found out that there's some alternate location in California that I had no idea about. But they changed the name. And when I recently, as I go to Port Washington, as I drive through it, I look up and I see there's a Nassau County booth, like a police booth, which looks like a lookout tower above the flags of multi nations. Some of them I couldn't even guess what nation they come from. They're not labeled. I wasn't taught that in elementary school or in any of my whatevers. Um, Today, as I drove through on this September 10th in the year 2022, there were all the flags of alternate possibilities were taken down, and there was one flag flown, which is this, in that very, I mean, like, there's stores that at this day and age I can't afford to shop in. but they are like the runway and the catwalk of like Paris and London, and like that's where those people shop. I don't have money to shop there. Linda and Lou don't have money to shop there. I've never shopped there. Um, I've driven through once in my Mini Cooper. Um, Upset about how national security dollars were being spent on the people that were able to afford there, considering my situation. I was just making myself known, not like a crazy woman, not threatening in any way. Just, I'm lonely, I'm tired. Things feel like they've never gone right, and I'm really getting sick, and I can't find answers. And this is not the way anybody should have to live, in the sense that I know that there are people who live much, much worse, and I get that. But based on what I was planned for and having the hands of time and a very specific key role that others knew about and built into their safety security, um, I don't even know the pieces and parts. Um, Between ramparts and bills and how national security works and how even Long Island works and how this mercantile exchange is working and why I can't seem to get a respectable elf to even hold hands with. I mean, it's really frightening. Um, and then having fruit in a fruit stand I didn't want to open up, and then not being able to direct them into what they need, keep trying to keep them safe based on how I've been attacked, and trying to just quietly and safely negotiate that terrain. Um, but it was interesting that it was all one flag for once passing this, because I remember thinking in this Americana, how did those flags get chosen? Why those brands? Why am I not even able to afford to shop there? I don't know who does shop there, but it just, there's a lot that goes on around here that just doesn't make sense. And I don't even know where to turn to for some of these answers. And that's the frightening part. I think if there was a movie about Fred Savage was, I think it was Fred Savage was in it with an older actor. It was called The Princess Bride. And there was this beautiful book that the grandfather wanted to teach the grandson about love, about this journey, about this wonderful story, whatever. And then it goes into the storybook, the characters acting out. And I mean, they go through this whatever, but the princess has blinders on. She gets taken as a prisoner. There's a prince that's trying to save her in some parts. He's wearing a mask as well. I mean, I know that there's a tremendous amount of symbolism in this. Um, did not realize it at the time when I was watching the movie initially, but as I get older and the worse that my health gets and the amount of resources that seem to have disappeared completely, and I don't know why, um, it just seems more poignant the older I get. Um, it's star 1978, it's star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza, it's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. For those that don't know, Saturn is not only a planet, but it was some kind of plastic polycarbonate fiber, cheap car. It was a stick shift, was not leather, it was cloth seats, but it was a vehicle nonetheless. And it was the first time Michael taught me how to drive stick shift, um, which is on his Peugeot, which was like, I guess his parting gift. He taught me how a mechanic. He taught me a mechanic of how not to rely on the automatic shift, how to know how to shift manually and use a clutch and whatnot. He added a dimension to my already existing knowledge, which of course I greatly appreciate, and I still honor him to this day. If anybody asks how I learned stick, which nobody really asks, but if they did. It's September 10th, 2022.